Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Mental Game Podcast. And yes, I know you're asking yourself what happened the last 3 months, no episodes. What happened is that basketball season was very intense, more than I expected. And talking about my college season, I played Division III, the College of Worcester, if anyone doesn't know. And also a lot of homework and just in general, I did not have time to give the podcast the attention that I wanted to give it. So, and I also needed to think about where I want to take this podcast because it kind of didn't have a direction, but it's something I'm very passionate about. I got a chance to think about it, and I know what the direction I'm going to take this in. You guys will see very soon what direction this is going to be heading in. It's going to be a lot more professional, higher level of analysis. Everything is just going to take a step forward, and I'm going to take this more seriously. And hopefully you guys will enjoy that. I'll have some more special guests coming on in the future. This episode is mostly just kind of restarting this podcast. I will cover what was going on in the NBA this season because there's so much that happened. I think this is one of the best seasons we've had in a while. And from now on, expect to see about 2 episodes a week instead of just one every other week. It's going to be a lot more consistent. Well, enough for talking. Let's get into it. So yeah, the first thing I wanted to talk about is, are the Utah Jazz legit? Because the Utah Jazz have been on an absolute tear. I mean, the Utah Jazz have just been unbelievable, which is something I never thought I'd say. They're 40-13, which is an incredible record, standing number 1 in the West at the moment and number 1 in the NBA, matter of fact. And I mean, I thought Donovan Mitchell was just an all-star, he's going to average like 20, like 4 and 4. Donovan Mitchell took this extra step up and showing that he can be a legitimate MVP candidate one day, and maybe even this season you could make a case considering their record and what he's doing with that team. I mean, they're an incredible sharpshooting team. They have a lot of great shooter. Bojan Bogdanovic is a great shooter. Jordan Clarkson probably going to win Sixth Man of the Year. Rudy Gobert, we all know he's a great defender, but he cannot shoot. Royce O'Neal has been shooting it fairly well. Mike Conley has been having one of his best seasons, finally got recognized as an all-star. They have some great veteran leadership with Derek Favors and Ersan Ilyasova, and cannot forget about Joe Ingles and what he brings to the table in terms of 3-and-D. So they're really built like a championship team if Donovan Mitchell is that MVP guy. And he's been playing like it. I mean, he's averaging 26 a game, 4.5 rebounds, and about 5 assists. I mean, he's shooting 39% from 3, 44% from the field. The efficiency doesn't jump out of the page with Donovan, but it's resulting in wins, and the points he's getting them are necessary. It seems like when they need him to get 40 to win, he goes out there and gets a bucket. He gets 40, regardless of what it is like. The game he had against Devin Booker and the Suns a couple nights ago was an incredible game. We need to get a full playoff series of that, but we saw 2 young bucks that are going to rule the shooting up position for years just going up against each other. It was incredible to watch. And I personally think or thought that Donovan Mitchell was not in the tier of a Devin Booker. I'm a big Devin Booker fan, and he was proving me wrong. Donovan Mitchell is looking as good as Devin Booker. You can make a case that better because, I mean, look at their record, look what they're doing. I just pretty much read you the roster, and that roster is not that superior. You got to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff and Quinn Snyder for what he's been doing there for years, and I think they're finally getting it together. The question is, are they going to be able to do this in the playoffs? And it all depends on Donovan Mitchell, in my opinion. In the playoffs, at the end of the day, you need a guy that will get you a bucket at the end of games. They have the three-point shooting as a team. They have the defense with Rudy Gobert in the paint. Problem is sometimes on pick and rolls when he gets switched, but that's a whole different topic. I just don't know if can Donovan Mitchell be this guy in the playoffs? Can he do that? And I don't want to write him off yet. And there's a good chance that he does do it. But there's also a chance that he doesn't. And I don't want everyone to just be like, oh, the Utah Jazz were fake if it doesn't work. I think this is the beginning of something. They're going to be able to build around this guy for years now. I mean, this is only the beginning for him. It seems like he's dropping 40 every other night. It's resulting in wins. It's just incredible to watch them as a team. Jordan Clarkson is really stepping into his role as a sixth man. I can see him being a Lou Williams kind of player in the league. Rudy Gobert is just continuing what he's always done. And now that they have the complementary pieces around it, things are just clicking when you have that one leader that's taking the step forward, the initiative. And it'll be interesting to see what they do in the playoffs, but I do not have them getting past the second round because I don't think they're better than Phoenix. I don't think they're better than Nuggets. And I don't think they're better than the healthy Lakers and Clippers. So, yeah, a lot of people could disagree with my take on that. But if the Utah Jazz get past the second round, I'll be very surprised. So for this year, they're contenders, but I wouldn't call them like a lock for like the Western Conference Finals and the finals. I don't think that's where they belong just yet, but I think they're on the right path. I think they need some more help, some more experience. They need kind of a secondary star that is also able to score and able to facilitate. Mike Conley is kind of that, but Mike Conley is doing great at that, but I don't know if in the playoff series matching up against the Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets is going to be enough. Moving on to the next topic, I want to talk about the Chris Paul effect. So before the season, when Chris Paul got traded to the Phoenix Suns, I was told by many people there'll be a fringe playoff team and like not have this big of an effect on the West. I thought they were going to be a fourth seed, which a lot of people saw as a hot take. Well, now they're the second seed. Granted, the Lakers are not healthy, but my God, the effect Chris Paul has had as that team, from a team that in the bubble last year showed that they're able to compete at a high level, that they kind of had things starting to click together, but it really had to be Devin Booker going off every night, which is hard to maintain in this league when you're going off so many elite talents. Sometimes you're going to have off days. And I mean, Chris Paul is just a winner. I don't care if he doesn't have the title next to his name. Chris Paul is a top 3-5 point guard of all time. And he's one of the most winningest players in NBA history, in my eyes. Every team he goes to just gets better, just starts to compete. He showed that with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He showed that with the Houston Rockets, where they would have made the finals if he did not get hurt from his hamstring injury. And then the Warriors came back from 3-2. We didn't forget that. And he did that with the Clippers. Granted, the Clippers never got past the second round due to injuries again. But yes, he turned losing franchises to winning franchises. He turns losing to winning, He knows how to win basketball games. The question is, does he have like the story behind him, the stats to support him winning an MVP? Because when you look at the stats, they don't jump off the page to you. I mean, he's averaging 16, 5, and 9, which are solid numbers, but no means like incredible numbers. They're fringe all-star numbers. And he without a doubt was an all-star this year. And if anyone says that he shouldn't have been an all-star, they're just casuals. Do not listen to them. But also he's shooting 50% from the field, but only about 36% from three. I think Chris Paul is very interesting because the last time we've seen someone have this kind of an effect on a team, but have such minimal numbers, these are great numbers, but they're not like MVP, like all NBA numbers. The last time this was going on is Steve Nash, and Steve Nash won MVP, averaging about like 18 and 12. And yeah, it was a very different time. The leading scores were probably averaging like 25, and nowadays it's like 35. There's like about probably 10 guys averaging over 25 nowadays. Just the way the game is moving, the amount of 3-point shots being taken, the volume of them, the pace of the game, just everything's so different. But Chris Paul proves that again and again that he's a winning player, just a Hall of Fame player, continuing to do incredible things. And someone that was called washed about 3 years ago, was called a team cancer, just came to Phoenix, kept elevating Devin Booker's game, who's going to be who's a generational talent that will continue doing work in this league, and finally gave him something to compete for, and showing that this empty stat BS that people have been talking about does not exist. I've been hearing this talk now with Zach LaVine. It was before with Devin Booker. No such thing as like empty stats. What are you supposed to do? Not try? Like, is it? Do you prefer the guy to average 15 and lose and average 27 and lose? I don't understand it. He's just going out there and hooping, and now that he has people to help him, he's winning games. It's fairly simple. He's also elevating DeAndre Ayton's game. I love the way Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges are playing. They are great additions. They're 3-and-D guys that can help just in playoff series, is very much built like a playoff team. Especially they have Jay Crowder as well. Just this whole team as a whole, I love the way they are. I mean, I was rooting for them from the beginning of the season. And in my personal opinion, Chris Paul should not get MVP considerations just because the stats should matter. But showing that stats are not everything that impacts winning, that there's leadership, there's defense that doesn't show up in the stat sheets, there's the pass to assist. So like he passes to someone, like he collapses the defense, he passes to someone, and that person passes to another person and they get a shot off. Maybe that whole play was created because he was able to collapse the defense, and that first person was open, then the defense helped on him, and then the other person was open. So if he drives it, for example, and then the person in the corner has to help, he kicks to the corner. He doesn't get the assist because the corner guy moves the ball to the wing, and the wing guy had to help on the corner. That is the assist for the guy from the corner. But Chris Paul really created that play. In the playoff series, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and that whole crew, they're going to be a tough team to play against, and I think they're going to be very dangerous. He should not get MVP considerations. He should definitely be an all-NBA player. And people need to put some respect on his name, though. And I think Devin Booker, if Chris Paul is able to maintain this next year and Devin Booker takes another step up, Devin Booker could be in serious MVP considerations next year. And I believe he has an honest chance of winning it next year. So continuing to talk about the MVP race, pretty much it was very annoying this year how the players that kept leading it kept just getting injured. And I think a part of that is because the short off season, I mean, the NBA just needed to kind of get things back on track. And it was very difficult for them to be able to push the season like farther back. I understand why they started the season so early, but for teams like the Heat and the Lakers that went deep into the playoffs last year, played in the finals, the amount of rest they received is little to none. And it's shown by the fact that Anthony Davis has been hurt for a long time. LeBron is the first time other than that groin injury that I've seen him sitting out. Granted, you could say it's a freak accident, but yes, his body was an overload, which is the reason it's happening. Jimmy Butler set out a decent amount of games this year. I'm pretty sure it was due to COVID protocols, but regardless, he set out multiple games. So the Heat started off the season not as well. They caught up now, but they did not start out the season that well because he was out there. And he's a very impactful player. And Goran Dragic been in and out of the lineup the whole year, continuing his injury problems from last year. Never really got a chance to heal. And I don't know. Now they have Victor Oladipo, who just got hurt. I just find it so problematic that the NBA values money over the rest of the players. And you will get a better product because everyone just wants to watch the stars play. But I mean, I really hope that the NBA realizes that it's not fair to have these players just sacrifice their bodies when this season could or not mean like a lot to them. Like LeBron does not care about the regular season. If LeBron said this before, if LeBron gets into the playoffs, he does not care about the regular season. LeBron gets into the playoffs, he can be the 8th seed, he can be the 1 seed. I don't care. LeBron's getting out that first round. Okay. And just putting them in a situation where they don't have enough rests to be able to entertain the fans in the regular season is unfortunate, because later the fans get mad if people sit out. I don't blame them. Especially now you can't really buy tickets to go to games for most part. But when that was going on, I mean, if you pay a ticket to watch LeBron doesn't play, I understand why you'd be mad. And it's just very unfortunate, because he also needs to take care of his body. So I think the NBA really needs to understand that what they did with the offseason last year really affected the MVP race, because Joel Embiid was a lockdown. He was winning MVP, but then he went down with a hyperextended knee about a month ago, and he just came back. He's going to get back in the mix, but it might be too late. And James Harden was in the MVP race, and now he's down with a hamstring injury. Durant was in the MVP race, was had with a hamstring injury. Now he's back. I mean, just all over the place. Kyrie was in it for a while, like all 3 of the Brooklyn Nets players, but then he had some personal issues. And yeah, it just seems like fatigue also steps in over this season, because the players try to push it through it because they're competitors, but over time the body sometimes takes over. But pretty much the MVPs of right now, it has to be Nikola Jokic. I mean, the Nuggets are playing incredible since the acquisition of Aaron Gordon. I'm pretty sure they're 8-0, and it's just, he's a great fit, finally giving Jokic that lob threat that he never had before. Jokic is arguably the best passer in the league, smart player, and it's just beautiful to watch him play, the way he is able to just play the game at a different pace than everyone. It seems like he's playing chess while everyone's playing checkers. And yeah, I think right now he has the MVP on lock. I mean, second is Damian Lillard, but he's been having a couple of rough games as of late, because, I mean, this man literally gets picked up at half court and gets doubled, and he plays every game. This man does not rest. He's getting tired, and I can see it. This is what I meant by the fatigue. I'm a big Portland Trailblazers fan, and he had a rough start to the season a little bit. He picked it up insanely well, and now he's getting tired again. I hope he can pick it up again. The Blazers definitely have to win more, and he has to put up some bigger numbers for him to win MVP. It's kind of a long shot, but he's definitely first-team All-NBA this year, regardless of what happens. And I don't see Giannis winning it again. They're not giving him the third straight MVP. And also now he's hurt with a knee injury. Just as I've been explaining, people continue to get hurt, which is very unfortunate. And yeah, LeBron was also in the MVP race. I have no idea how I forgot about that. But again, went down with an injury. So for me, it's pretty much the MVP's on lock. It's Nikola Jokic. Everyone else has had up and downs this season, or that they weren't able to stay healthy. So the MVP is pretty much Nikola Jokic, and he's earned it. And I wanted to talk about some trades that happened at the trade deadline, because I did not cover it because the podcast was not going on. I will cover a couple trades. First of all, the Aaron Gordon trade was a great pickup. I did not understand the beginning, but he can play the Jeremy Grant role from last year very well, play defense, regardless of the fact that he's not like an incredible defender. He's very athletic, lengthy, and strong, and he can usually slow down the other team's best player, not contain them, slow them down, and he can catch lobs. He's a average shooter. He at least the defense will sort of respect it when he's on the 3-point line. And I just love the addition of him next to that already very powerful Nuggets team. I mean, I'm very high on them. I think if everything clicks for the Nuggets, they could make a title run. They have nothing missing. They have Jamal Murray, in my eyes, all-star point guard. They have Will Barton. He's the worst player in their starting 5, and he's a great player. He's a high flyer, and he can shoot the lights out. He can create for himself when the shot clock is about to expire. You can give him the ball, and he can go to work. And he's their 5th best starter. Because then you have Then you have Michael Porter Jr., who is going to be a future star. I do not care what anybody says. Michael Porter Jr. has game, and he's proving it. I'll cover this in a future episode. Well, I'll talk about the most underrated players in the league, because that man is not receiving his due respect. I've seen nobody talk about him. And Aaron Gordon, we all know about him, high flyer. I already talked about him this episode. They have the MVP in Nikola Jokic. Then they have some nice bench pieces in Monte Morris, a great backup point guard, and Paul Millsap. Just a great team overall. They have nothing missing from making a title run. Another trade I'll talk about is the Victor Oladipo to the Heat trade. I actually love that trade. It's somewhere where he wants to be. He was not able to bounce back since his injuries in Indiana, and I thought he'd be able to do so. And he's actually been starting to play fairly well until he went down last night. I have no idea what the problem he has. I'm pretty sure it's a knee thing. Hopefully he could come back soon. It didn't look too serious, and I think regardless of what the Heat do in the regular season, they're going to be dangerous again playoff time, because he just fits their mentality, just dog mentality, go to work every day. And I think he and Jimmy Butler and the rest of the Heat will make some noise in the playoffs once again. And don't be surprised if they make to the Eastern Conference Finals and make one of your favorite teams have a really tough time on offense, and maybe Jimmy Butler is able to will him to another finals appearance. And the last couple trades I'll talk about, the first of all is Nikola Vucevic to the Bulls. I think the Bulls got an absolute steal. Vucevic is an incredible big guy, averaging about 25 and 12 this season, I believe. I mean, he's shooting great from three. I'm pretty sure he's shooting about 40% from three this year. He's able to score around the bucket, has great post moves, great touch around the rim, great feet. Pairing him up with Zach LaVine shows Zach that they want to win, and they have interest in keeping Zach there long term. Zach is also one of those players like Devin Booker that will rule this league one day. And maybe not this year, but next year, if the Bulls are able to get a point guard, someone like Alonzo Ball, for example, who is able to facilitate and play defense, I think they can be a second-round team. And if Zach LaVine continues developing, the sky's the limit. The last trade I'll talk about is regarding my favorite team, the Portland Trail Blazers. They traded my favorite player in the league, Gary Trent Jr., who just had a 44-point outing last night, and everyone's so surprised that he went 17 for 19. I'm not. If you actually watch those games, you'd be able to tell this man has talent. The problem is people just look at stats and go on social media and are like, oh, this dude was 0 for 9 tonight. But they don't see the situation he's in. They don't see the limited amount of touches. They don't see all that stuff. They don't see his mentality. They don't see the effort. People just think they know what's going on when they're looking in social media. If you watch the game, you know Gary Trent will be a star. And do not care what anyone else says. Give this man 2 to 3 years and he's going to be an all-star in this league. And I think the Portland Trail Blazers lost big. Granted, they got Norman Powell. He's a great player, averaging career highs pretty much across the board. Before the trade to the Blazers, he was averaging 20 points per game with 45% from three, actually leading the league in corner threes made percentage, which is great next to CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. With all the attention they get, they'll have a wide open three-point shooter who is pretty much automatic. I mean, he's been having his up and downs with the Blazers as of late. I am not sure if he's a great fit, honestly, as a Blazers fan. I'd much rather have Gary Trent come off the bench and not have to give the start to Norman Powell and just be able to start Derrick Jones Jr., who helps us more in defense. And we're starting pretty much three very short guards. I don't see us getting past the first round doing that. Norman Powell is also a free agent, just like Gary Trent is going to be this summer. Gary Trent would actually be restricted, so we would have been able to sign him regardless. I'm pretty sure Norman Powell is not. So I think we took a big L on that trade, and I said that immediately. And the Blazers just need to get rid of Terry Stotts and that front office. That front office is terrible. Just keep Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. And I love Robert Covington, but just pretty much just keep your best player and just restart this, because we are in the middle of the pack every year. Damian Lillard's prime is very short, and we want to win, and the moves we're making are not helping us. Norman Powell is not that much better than Gary Trent, if at all, at the moment, And obviously in the future, Gary Trent at about 22, 23 years old is going to be a lot better than 28-year-old Norman Powell. So I do not understand that move, and I'm fairly mad at it, if you can tell. In addition, Yusuf Nurkic keeps getting hurt, and it's very annoying. And I think they just need to just play Enes Kanter full time. In the beginning, I was hating on Enes Kanter because his defense is like shredded cheese, but this man is the best rebounder in the league. I do not care what anybody says. This man had a 30 rebound game last night. And honestly, if he plays that amount of minutes every game, this man will be able to average about 15 to 17 rebounds a night. He has one of the best touch around the rim I've ever seen, like from a center. I mean, this man just does not miss layups. He's not overly athletic. He's a terrible defender. He's a terrible passer. But you give him the ball under him, he makes it. He's able to draw fouls. He's able to score in the post. And I just really think he's a big sleeper this year. And people are starting to realize Enes Kanter can actually hoop. And I personally did not know that. And Enes Kanter is the best rebounder in the league at the moment, definitely the best offensive rebounder, and he's one of the best big man finishers under the rim, leading the league, I'm pretty sure, in percentage in the paint other than Zion. He's shooting about 60% in the paint, which is incredible. So that's pretty much all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Please remember to leave a like, share it, subscribe. I will be back in a couple days. I'm hoping y'all can forgive me for taking this time off, and I'm trying to build something special here. So just stay tuned, be prepared, and join the movement. Peace.